If you're constantly battling outside the world, you're never going to reach peacefulness and harmony.
How did you balance your roots here and your home country?
It's still very weird feeling when you have one foot in your culture and one foot in the European culture.
Nobody talks about it so much on social media.
Is that we subscribe to one package deal. The polyamory comes from fear of not committing. In fact, you're committing more. I cannot fix anyone's problem. People come to me and I tell them that straight away, I cannot fix your relationship. What I can do for you is...
What do you think is the right time that the couple should consider going to a therapist?
The most sad thing in my profession is that couples come to me so late that sometimes your mind can forgive, your mind can work on things, but your body remembers. And it's absolutely not a failure to change your relationship pattern, and you can change it to many ways.
Couples think in a relationship, we are okay together, but we are not happy together. What do you think is the solution for that? Welcome to Life Architects, a space where we stop hoping for a better life and start designing one. I would like to start with a list. Study hard, find a right partner, get a good job, get children, stay together. The list that we never consciously choose, but we inherit from our parents, from our culture, from our society, from school, from the stories that we have heard our lifelong. And most of the life, often, we keep chasing for those things, and then suddenly we stop and start asking, what do we actually want? Welcome, Victoria Onken, to our podcast, Life Architects. Victoria has been to that journey already personally, has helped many people professionally as well. She has helped people to navigate love and relationships outside the models that we are handed over in our life. Welcome, Victoria.
Thank you for having me here.
To the listeners who don't know who Victoria is, can you tell who are you?
Yes, I am dating and relationship coach, and I specialize in not standard relationships. So I actually would call myself a sustainable relationship coach because I actually help people to figure out what is right for them and what's right for them in that point in their life.
So you mean in the present life,
In the
what
present.
is suitable for them?
Yes, because sometimes, like you said, we have this script and we go, it's like a train that you've been set on for the, at the beginning of your life, and you just go station by station, but you don't question yourself even like where I want to end up. Is this the right train for me? Every stop, we don't want to skip a stop. And you haven't even mentioned one thing, which is marriage. So when I came to the Netherlands, I realized that a lot of people had children in a partnership. And that was very, very surprising for me because I was used to this station called marriage. So that got me thinking, can you skip stops? Can you abort the train? Who invented the train? Why are we on this train? Who put us on this train? And that's how my journey started.
And how did it feel when you have that realization? How did it feel from inside?
It felt very unsteady, and it's like a breaking point, but also can be very exciting because there's this thought like, is there more? It's like having a house that you lived in for many years, and then suddenly you discover this door and you think, oh my God, what is this? It's unknown, but at the same time, it's also exciting. You're like, oh my God, there's a door. Should I open it? Should I not open it? Should I call my friend? Should we open it together? Should I talk about it to my friend? And it's a very similar feeling to that especially when you travel between cultures, as we do, we immigrate so much, and then you embrace the new culture, and then you think, oh, there's these possibilities that I wasn't aware of.
What was the realization that this possibility made for you?
I think it's more spaciousness and realization that what we have built for ourselves, it's kind of false sense of safety because I realized that everything that we build our relationships on and our lives on is this idea of if I do this, I'll be safe. So if I marry, I'll have a partner forever, and I'll be safe. I'll have somebody to take care of me. If I have children, I have somebody to bring me a glass of water. In Russian, we even have a saying, oh, they'll bring me a glass of water. Would they? Remains to be seen. They could be in another country, but it's this false sense of safety. And so also you as a partners, as in a long-term partnership, you grow very symbiotically together, but your autonomy suffers. So I realized there's some things in the house I did not know even how they work, like a router, like where is the internet, what is the internet, like some things, because you outsource it to your partner, you become like an invalid in a way. You cannot take care of yourself. So I was thinking like, okay, where's my autonomy? How do I want to live my life? So it's scary, but it's also empowering.
So you had then realization that you are getting your autonomy out of it, and this was very empowering for you as a person.
Yeah.
And then were you ever confused, or were you ever scared to walk in this new journey? Because that's a gray box for you.
Yeah, of course. Every journey is so scary. So what happened with my husband and I, we were together for many years. I think it was then 15 years, and we were thinking, is this it? Is there more to life? And we both had different things we wanted to do, but separation was never an issue for us because we loved each other very much. And we went to couple therapy, traditional couple therapy, and that's one thing we realized, that we don't want to break up, that we love each other very much, but we still maybe want a little bit different things. And then my husband is the smart one in the family, and he said, I'm gonna read books. There must be books about different forms of relationships, because we lived for thousands of years. It cannot be that this is the only model. I was like, okay. So he read for a year. He read all the classic books about relationships. And he came to me and he said, look, there's these things, there's open relationship, there's polyamory. I grew up in a very conservative background. So I did not even know these words. In my culture, there was not even terminology for this. We had a term, Swedish family, which referred to anything, any kind of abnormal, but it was like a curse. It was like, oh, the Swedish family. It means like something is weird going on there. Like, so I had this already very negative preconceived notion, but I said, okay, I'll read. I'm happy to read. And I realized that actually philosophically, I agreed with many things, like, why we put so much pressure on our partner to be everything for us. Because our life changed. We used to live in communities where you were much more time with other people. And so you could have other interests, other things divided between those people. Now we live in this nuclear family unit, often in another country, and you have everything put on your poor partner. All your hobbies you want to join, you want to do, you want to share all your dreams, all your ideas. If one of you gets seriously sick, you're the only caretaker for that person. So our lives changed, but our model of living hasn't changed. So that resonated with me very much. And also the idea that you cannot get to know other people and have this, butterflies or something like this. You think, okay, well, we live longer now. We live well into our 80s, but I love my husband very much. But then you think, is this it? And that resonated with me. And so we talked for another year, and then we said, okay, let's try it. Let's open up the relationship. And we haven't looked back. And I think it's very scary. And we made all mistakes because we didn't have any help. We didn't know there were coaches or therapists who specialize in this. And I wish then we had someone. So we made all mistakes. So then I decided I didn't decide. I had people write to me and saying to me, I'm a friend of a friend. I've heard you doing this. I have questions. And then I would get a lot of questions. And I thought, no, I need to study this. I'm not qualified. And so I did the study and I began helping people. And through that, I realized that there's so many similar patterns that everyone deals with. Doesn't matter what kind of relationship you have. The topics are the same. So that got me even more fascinated about what we're going through in our life and how relationships matter and how can we form the life that we want.
Wow, such a journey it is, Victoria. So I would like to go a step back. So you both decided to move from a traditional marriage to you guys were married, right?
Yeah, we were married for many years.
For many years, for 15 years, I guess.
So I
right?
think that was 15 years. We had a daughter. And yeah.
So, and then from a traditional marriage, you moved to a very unconventional method,
Yes.
new way.
Yes.
And when you adopted to this new method, what were like when your husband read about it, when he proposed it to, what was your first reaction?
Oh my God. Oh my God. This is I was thinking it was a mixture. It was two thoughts. First was really? Is it possible? And second was, oh my God, is it gonna mess up our marriage? These two thoughts, because we also were parents and I was thinking, and also third thought came that you really need to trust your partner. You really need to have this deep level of trust. But also, I started to think deeper. And I started to think about monogamous relationships and how many of my girlfriends and my friends actually cheated on their partner. And I read also many books where, like some studies prove that we're not monogamous as species, and attraction is one thing and long-term commitment is another, and people put sexuality and love together, which is not necessarily so. There's many studies, but there's also many studies who that prove otherwise. So it was very confusing time. I have to say I was very confused and equally excited and worried.
And like we are talking about how many years back?
My God, I'd say like 10 years back, 8 years back.
And you adopted this model in Netherlands itself.
Yes, we were already in the Netherlands for a long time. And I think that was a big shift because already being in a very liberal society, you already exposed to many things. And you hear and more and more in the media and in the movies, there were like different troubles. And I was like, oh my God, this is this thing. And it's very, very still very weird feeling when you have one foot in your culture and one foot in the European culture. And a lot of my clients also deal with, even if they figured out their relationship, they still deal with the outside world and how to communicate it and how to communicate to the parents and to all the relatives and how to live authentically, but also respectfully to others.
How did you balance your roots here and your home country?
For many years is not telling anything and not showing anything in social media. And actually to this point I have to say I try to be very respectful. So if it's a elderly relative or somebody who's very religious or very conservative, I'm thinking, do they need to know? It's also a your relationship structure is a personal thing. So I also believe that people are very intelligent. So if you hint on something, people will either ask more questions because they want to know, or they completely ignore it because they're not ready to know. So for me, it's completely fine. They don't need to know. They don't need to know. So you need to be in tune with your environment and your surroundings to be in harmony. And as much as with yourself, you cannot be in a harmony fully if you're not in a harmony with the world. You can be harmonious internally, but if you're constantly battling outside the world, you're never going to reach peacefulness and harmony that you're looking for.
So, Victoria, can we say that moving away from monogamy saved your marriage?
No, we cannot say that because I think one structure doesn't save another. I think it's a big mistake when people do it to save something. And that's why things fail when you try to amend problems without looking into them. So when I coach my couples, I'm actually an anti non-monogamy coach, in a sense that if they come to me with a request like we want to open our relationship, I say, okay, hold on, and let's look into the relationship ourselves now, and first figure out all the problems or issues that you have put under the carpet. Because what opening up relationship does, it will bring all of those issues out. Every little jealousy, every little resentment will be multiplied. It's very similar to when you have a child, because you're tired, you're hungry, you know it, and if you had issues before, they will come out. So it's very important to work on yourself. And also, as you open up as a couple, couples forget. They say, okay, we have X amount of free time and X amount of budget. I said, this is very good, but have you left time for you as a couple and for you also to go out on a date? The money. They say, yeah, but we see each other all the time. And I say, yeah, but you see each other with children, with mortgage, with household. Is it seeing each other? Is it quality time? Do you want to have quality time with other people only? So all these things people don't think about before they embark on this journey. So if anything, I try to halt this process. And also sometimes after looking at everything, people realize that monogamy is right for them. So I don't lean either way. I don't propagate any alternative forms of relationship unless they're really right for that couple.
Wow, that's a really very nice approach of dealing with the relationship, Victoria. And thank you so much for opening about your story to our listeners, because it would be really motivating and eye opener for a lot of people around there. And yeah, nobody talks about it so much on social media. So I guess then it becomes more important and more helpful for
Yeah.
people.
I think the problem with social media, what you touched upon, is that if you type in polyamory, ethical non-monogamy, you're going to get a very specific type of people, very alternative looking, purple hair, piercings, and I have nothing against that, nothing at all, absolutely. But many people don't see themselves in that. And the problem with today in general is that we subscribe to one package deal. So politically, culturally, so if you like one thing, automatically you like 10 things, because people don't like to think about different issues separately. So right now, if you are gay, you also pro-Palestine, you also might have alternative look. And then some people that just have one of those things, they don't want to sign up to the bunch of other beliefs. So same happens with ethical non-monogamy. It can be seen as very political, very alternative. And a lot of people, they really fall through the grid. They don't have anyone who can give them information. If they, work in a bank, they in conservative environment, maybe they're right wing politically, they have no role models. They have no specialists who cater to them, who understand where they're coming from. Because it's very easy to say, be free, be open, do what you want. When somebody's career depends on it, when somebody lives in a very conservative culture. And so I really, really wanted to specialize to help people who are either not from such an open area, or like I am in Amsterdam, or from the background that doesn't let them be free as much. So to find that space for themselves and still be part of that community, if they don't want to leave the community, they are really struggling.
Yeah, fair enough. Because continuing to that conversation, yes, there are a lot of videos about these topics like polygamy, polyamory, monogamy, but yeah, those are perspective of people who are already born and brought up in that culture, who knows those concepts from starting. But it has a really different meaning for a people coming from different culture, from traditional culture. And uh, then meanings changes for these words. So Victoria, when you mention ethical non-monogamy, can you explain what is that?
Yes, I'll explain it, and I started with the fact that I hated this term. I I I don't know who invented it, but he was not a good person, because I mean, ethical, when you put is monogamy ethical? Let's start with that. Like, how many people cheat on each other? How many people disclose the truth? So to hold a relationship system to such a high level to say it's ethical, it's not true, because yes, in ethical non-monogamy, you talk about everything. In essence, you disclose if you go on a date, if you have other partners. It promotes open conversations between partners and sharing, and there's no shady behavior that goes behind the scenes. Is it true? No. No, people mess up, people will make mistakes, they can be completely unethical in every form of relationship. So I prefer the term consensual non-monogamy, which that's only what consensual means, is that both parties agreed to it. That's the only thing. So two people sat at the table and I said, okay, I think maybe it would be nice to have some sort of other form of relationship. But consensual non-monogamy, it's an umbrella term, and under it there's many, many, many terms or ways of relating, from completely just sexual, just swingers, to open relationship where people just may have a little fling, and it's sometimes do not tell, do not ask, do not tell, meaning that you have your free time, and you can go out with your girlfriends, you can go with a guy, like you don't share. Sometimes it's easier for the other partner, and they do the same. But you agree on safety, on budgets, on how many nights per week, and you have your space, and it's about more claiming space for yourself and your needs. And then there's polyamory, where you form long-term relationships with other people besides your partner. And you also take emotional responsibility, sometimes financial responsibility. And it's like also like another relationship that you have. And it can be long-term relationship, it can be short-term relationship, but it's perceived that you involve feelings, and you seeking for like a deeper connection. But it doesn't have to be sexual also. It can be romantic, but not sexual.
Okay. That I did not know.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's yeah, that's a lot. So you also got to know about these models when you moved to Netherlands, right?
Yes, and from books and from talking to people, but also even in the Netherlands, a lot of this is taboo, or especially with the older generation, or not taboo, but it was hidden. Because the more I talked to people about it, they said, "Oh yeah, my mom, she had like a friend, friend of a family, or all these things." And then you start talking to people like, "Yeah, like in the 60s, that was a thing." But still, Amsterdam is a bubble. So when you go outside of Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, it's still very much nuclear family unit, and especially if the area is more religious. But it happens more and more. I think with a new generation as well, with social media, with this term, situationship, which is it sounds to me not ethical, but it sounds like you're hiding things from each other. Like we have situationship, but definitely new terms are coming out that define different relationships, and it's very interesting how it's developed.
Situationship, I have heard mostly in Gen Zs, at least in India. Like I come from India, I don't know about Netherlands.
Yeah.
So what does situationship means?
So here, I think for me, situationship is fear of commitment. If it's monogamy or non-monogamy, you hide behind. So people sometimes hide behind non-monogamy because they're afraid. They're afraid to commit. They're afraid to limit their freedom. But it's very, very big misconception that say polyamory comes from fear of not committing. In fact, you're committing more. You're committing to more than one person, and you have twice or three times as many conversations about relationships and hopes and dreams and needs and emotions, because you need to consider all the people. And situationship is when you see somebody, but you don't question what they do in their free time. And it can be unsafe sexually because of the disease, and it can be also emotionally unsafe because how can you feel attached to somebody who doesn't disclose, what are they doing, who are they doing it with? So I think it's a fear of committing.
So, but polyamory and situationship cannot be combined, right? Because both are different.
Different. It's completely different. I think for me, situationship is more in monogamous world when you're really afraid to commit and you want to do multiple dating and you're always thinking, yeah, this is nice, but maybe something nicer will come along. It's kind of like when you go into a networking event and you kind of talk to somebody, but you look behind his shoulder and to see if anyone more interesting walked in. And it's if anyone had it done to them, it's such a terrible feeling when you're talking to somebody and you're thinking, are you talking to me? Is there somebody behind me? And that's the equivalent in relationships. And it's so unkind and it's so selfish. And I find that with social networks, the choice is so big in dating that people almost too lazy to work on the relationships, and relationships take work and effort and conversations. So when you start dating, first problem and first fight, you think, oh, no, it's too much trouble. She's a troublemaker or he's a drama queen. I'm going to go and date somebody else. And then you constantly date and date and date because you're afraid of committing.
Wow, too much. Too much to take on. So there are new different models coming up for different kind of situations, for different type of relationships. What is the cost of person not knowing what exactly he or she wants?
I think cost is you automatically do all the things that kind of requested of you. And I think cost can be deep unhappiness and deep unhappiness later in life when things are busy with children and there's momentum with work. And then you go, go, go. And at some point you stop and you realize that your surroundings just don't match with your inside or your values or how you imagined your life. And it can be very sad because you kind of lived somebody else's life. You realized that you never stopped and asked yourself, is this what I want? And a lot of times, what I see with couples, that daily life takes so much toll, and children take so much toll, and work takes so much toll that when children leave the house, people look at each other and they realize they have nothing in common. They're literal strangers. And that realization can be shocking because this is somebody you also shared your life for 20, for 30 years. And then you think, is this what I want for myself? Is this the future that I want? And it can be very bitter feeling because it can also happen with your career because in some cultures, you don't even choose your career. It's kind of like put in front of you, you're going to be an engineer, you're going to be a doctor, and you kind of go with it. And we need to take time more and more in our life, whether it's through meditation or through mindfulness or through just talking to friends, to think, am I in the right career? Am I in the right form of relationship? How can I learn to talk to my partner about my needs? Because people are afraid to talk about their needs because they don't know how to, because we were never taught that in school or by our parents. How do you talk about something you want? Okay, so you figured it out. So you figured you want something. I'm not talking about opening up the relationship because for me, open relationship is when you can openly talk to your partner about anything, your dark side, your light side, your desires. You don't have to open anything in practice, but when you achieve this state, when you or your partner can come to each other and say, hey, I'm feeling this way, and you're not judged, you're not criticized, you're not shouted at, you're not scared, that is open relationship.
Such a beautiful definition you have put in for open relationship. And what I have taken away from this, what you just explained, for any relationship, it's very important that individual needs to be conscious. They needs to know their self, inner self first, and then communication should be open between them.
Yeah.
If these two things are strong, then any relationship could be fixed.
Absolutely, absolutely. There has to be desire. Sometimes these things come too late. And when people learn to communicate, there's so much hurt and there's so much things are broken inside through years of communicating wrongly or being with the wrong person, that sometimes your mind can forgive, your mind can work on things, but your body remembers. And when I see that on the body level, I work with people and then I feel like they still tense up, they still have these issues, that is very difficult to release from the body. And sadly for me, in the most sad thing in my profession, which I'm so heartbroken over, and I see again and again that couples come to me so late. They have already so many problems. It's like being a doctor and patients only in stage 4 cancer come to you. And the mortality rate is so high because I wish they would come to me 2 years earlier, because then things could have been fixed much easier. And what I see often, already one person checked out emotionally. So the first thing is the number one thing, that both people want to work on a relationship.
Both needs to be onboarded to work on it, as relationship is a work.
Yeah, and ready to look into themselves and ready to talk about what they did, how they hurt the other person, and to acknowledge it. It's not acknowledging, it's not apologizing. People, sometimes say to you, yeah, but I feel like I was right. But it's not about right or wrong. It's just acknowledging that even you think you are right, you hurt the other person. And sometimes people just need to hear it. They need to hear acknowledgement, and that will make them heal, because you feel seen. Suddenly you feel seen by your partner. Your pain is seen.
Like, as you have also come from a traditional background, I have heard stories and I have seen mostly in traditional countries, couples are especially not good in communication part. Male and female both are not open to listen each other's agony, each other's situation. So how to improve that part? Because I guess with the social media, people are becoming self-aware, everyone is working on their inner self, but still communication is a skill between two people. How can they work on that?
Well, if you listen to social media, everywhere they tell you, talk about this, talk about that. I think this advice is too simplistic because, for example, if I am a fitness coach, I said to you, movement is good. Yeah, that's true. It's healthy. Is it healthy with somebody with broken foot? No. It's going to hurt the foot even more. So in a couple, you have to understand a few things. You have to try to be in tune, first of all, with your partner. You know them. You know when they're upset, when they're hungry, when they're angry, when they're tired, when when they're overwhelmed from work. So step one is to observe your partner and to think, when is it a good time to talk? And then also a second stage is not to ambush them with the talk and then, okay, we're going to talk now. People like to feel in control and they don't like to feel forced into anything. So first, it's people miss a very important stage. It's like, I want to talk to you about something that's important for me. Is this good time right now? Are you are you emotionally ready for this, or should we set up a time, or but not in a big way like we have to talk? It sounds scary, but more small things. You don't have to have a big talk. You can start with small things. When you're brushing teeth together or when you getting ready for work, just say a few things, just open up a little bit, and you can start explaining your emotional landscape. If you haven't been used to say, oh, I have a meeting today, I'm a bit worried about it. That's it. Just drop that. People are afraid of big talks. Don't do big talk. Don't say we need to talk or something scary like this. There's little steps, and check in with your partner. And you can say, I know I shared with you about, that I was upset. How was it for you? We ask questions. We don't ask enough questions about the other person. But also don't ambush them with millions of questions like, how was today? How are you feeling? Or how did it make you feel? Because that person may be not ready for it. So be in tune with how you're communicating.
And it's such a nice idea of improving the communication. And that's important in every area of life these days, especially whether it's your work, it's your personal life, it's your professional life. It really makes and breaks your relationship with everyone. Thank you, Victoria, for sharing that insight. When a couple comes to you, we want to change our relationship status. What are the beliefs in their mind when they come to you regarding love and life?
Yeah. Many times they do come to me because they want to fix something. So I always say to them, why? Why do you want to open up a relationship? Why now? Have you had the experience with opening up the relationship when you were younger? So a lot of people, there are a few camps. There's generally different divisions. So a lot of times it's sexual because let's face it, people were together for 20, 30 years and they realize they're attracted to other people and they don't want to cheat. They love their husband, they love their wife, they don't want to do anything hidden. So they come and they want to have a structure where other sexual connections are possible and they want to understand and talk it through together, and having the other person in the room gives them feeling of safety, that they're not going to have like an argument or it's not going to get emotional, and we take it very slow. But first I need to understand why, what is like it is, and if the problem is sexually with them, I ask them, is it something they need to fix or is it okay? So every couple is different. And other couples, they want to have experiences. So for example, they had already experience where one person or both had some sort of feelings for other people and they didn't know how to give it place in the relationship. And that is the danger in monogamy. So what I see in monogamy is that in a long-term relationship, sooner or later comes time when one person or another person finds someone attractive and bonds an emotional bond, say at work. And then affairs happen. And what I see very quickly in monogamous relationship, a person stands in front of a choice. Do I leave my wife or my husband for this new person that is so exciting and he understands me and he's a great, because you've been together for 20 years, you annoy it, it's mundane, it's not so exciting, and then there's a new exciting person. And so a lot of times people are forced to choose, and sometimes they choose for a new person and they make a huge mistake. And in open relationships, what you have is initial a permission to see how that goes, and many times you start to value your wife or your husband even more because you understand the depth of your connection, the depth of your commitment, because most likely you had that first period with your husband or wife. And that brings you back to that moment, and that period can actually strengthen your relationship.
So open relationship can really bring an emotional shift
Yeah.
in a connection.
Yeah. In surprising ways, because also that happened to me, because I realized that how I was treating my husband was not necessarily always nice. Of course, I'm always nice. But when you have a new date, you dress up, you're kinder, you make an effort, you're way more patient. And then you see your husband and you don't make an effort anymore. You walk around the house in training suits and you're not as patient. Maybe you're hungry, maybe you're tired. He tells you a long story. You're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Or, you don't listen. Would you do that to the date? No. And then you think, oh my God, there's my love of my life. There's my person. Why don't I treat him like that? And then you bring that back. You say, hey, I want us to go on a date. I want that for us. Or if you discover so many new things through new people, a new restaurant, a new recipe, and then you bring that home, and the influx of information is way greater because in a relationship you have only two of you. You know all the songs, you see the movies together. You of course you can do things with friends, but when you get to know somebody intimately, you know the world and you can bring that into your relationship and make that richer.
Like you mentioned, right, that some couples came to you who had lost the emotional connection and they had the desire of some other people.
Yeah.
So how does it feel? That doesn't it feel confusing to have a desire for someone and also to continue in your current relationship?
Well, it's confusing for them because when I start asking them questions, it gets more confusing at first, because it's very important to understand if something not working in your relationship. If everything is working, it's fine. And what is emotional depth? So if you completely don't have any emotional connection and you're just looking to remedy it with other people, it's not going to work. So it's confusing time. But through the therapy, through the coaching, we give everything place and we learn to communicate about needs and about what exactly do you want from this? And is it necessary? Because first, and sometimes people don't open anything up. They realize that actually what they want is that, but for themselves. So then we work on how to give that new relationship feeling in that relationship. So not all my couples who come to open up, open up. And also then when they realize like, oh my God, it's going to be twice or three times more talking about relationships, like they're like, no, I don't enjoy it. I don't, it's already enough with one person. Like it's already, the calendars is already enough. The listening about the day is enough. Do you want to listen about the day of two people, three people? And they realize that the idyllic picture they painted in their mind actually comes with a lot of responsibilities and a lot of talking. Talking will be the primary thing they'll do, and making sure not one person is okay, but more people are okay. It's a lot of work. It comes with joys and everything, but yeah, and it's scary. So when you open up the relationship, it's so scary because you really need to become autonomous. You basically facing your worst fears. Your husband going on a date with another woman. Like, oh my God. And all your fears that you need to work through. What if she's funnier than me? What if she's prettier than me? What if he'll laugh and he'll leave her? But guess what? All these things can happen in monogamous relationship. And then you start to deconstruct the safety that you build for yourself. And that is the scariest process. But if you come out another way, you'll be way more autonomous. You'll face the fears because I'm thinking, okay, what is your fear? And then women said to me, yeah, but he's the main breadwinner. I'm afraid that if he'll leave, I won't have any money. So we work on that. We work with fears, like, oh, I'm afraid that he will meet somebody who is slimmer. I'm like, okay, well, do you feel uncomfortable about your figure? They'll be like, yeah. I'm like, okay, we can do something about that. So we deconstruct the fears to the point where we can do something about it. And if you're afraid that your husband will leave you, then you just talk to him. You say, hey, I'm really happy for you that you found this other person and you're excited. I love to see you excited, but I'm also afraid. And that will show you the depth of your relationship, because then if your husband will reassure you, will say, no, baby, like you're my everything. And I'm so grateful that we do this. And then he will say to you, what do you need? What do you need? And this has got nothing to do with sexuality, because I had a couple and a woman, she said to me, I hate it when my husband goes out with his friends on Friday night after work. I was like, "Oh, but why?" And she didn't know. She's like, yeah, but it's not okay. We're married and he's not young anymore. And why is he doing it? And we have children. I said, well, but is it about, he doesn't take care of children? Oh, no, he's a great father and he takes care of them on Saturday. I said, and it took us a few sessions to realize that what she doesn't like is that he is so happy. He comes home, he showers, he shaves, he dresses up, and he's happy. And she remembers him how he was before. So what she realized is she doesn't want him to do less of that. She wants more of that for herself. So she stopped saying to him, I don't want you to go out with your friends. She said, hey, other night, can we do that? Can you dress up for me? I want this happiness. I want this for both of us. I miss this. And when she took her conversation from negative to positive, it was much easier for her husband to not get annoyed, but actually to embrace it. And then they lived happily ever after.
It sounds like a small fix, but it really takes effort to
Yes.
take out of the person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a little, that's what I mean about communication. You can communicate. Communication is not just speaking. It's how you talk. It's how you say the same thing, but in a positive way rather than a negative way. You don't say, I don't want, but in yourself, you have to first figure out what is it that you want, not what you don't want. So I try to ask people when they said to me, I don't want this, I said, what do you want?
Makes sense that, yeah, positivity comes into every area of life, in your thoughts and your relationship. Nice enough. So, Victoria, yeah, we have talked about few of your clients where, they realized after going from monogamy to polyamory that they got their emotional connection back.
Yeah.
In their relationship. Have you seen cases as well which went into negative direction?
Yeah. I mean, what is negative direction? So I had cases, for example, that people had open relationship or polyamory and they chose to close it. And it was very but everything is perceived as failure. And that's what I don't like. In our society, oh, you didn't do polyamory well. What is well? I mean, we are humans that I believe that this is a relationship construct. This is not a sexual orientation. Because if you have a gay person, there's no way they're going to be 40 with children and say, oh, no, I feel a bit straight now. This is too much. Right? But with relationships, we have different resources, which time, money, energy in different stages in our life. And sometimes when you're young, open relationship worked for you because you had time, you didn't have children, you had great partner and it was fantastic. But then it stops working when you're overwhelmed, when you have kids, when you have your career, you don't have time. And if you do things ethically, you want to take emotional responsibility over people you invite into your life. And you want to have spaciousness for somebody who has a crisis to come to you, if it's your partner or other partner. And then you realize, I don't have space for that. Or when you're older, maybe your sexual desire diminishes because of hormones. And it's absolutely not a failure to change your relationship pattern. And you can change it to many ways. Together as a couple, you can talk about what suits you right now in this season of your life. So yes, I had couples who couldn't understand why it doesn't work. But one thing they didn't consider is actually changing the relationship model back to close to monogamous. And it doesn't mean that in a year or two they'll feel ready to open up. And it's not a failure. Opening up your relationship doesn't mean you failed in this ultimate fairy tale of a prince and a princess and together forever and holding hands and dying in one day. It absolutely not a failure. If anything, it proves that you can communicate to the point that you agree to such a big thing. Because many times one person wants it, another person doesn't want it. And close enough is not. But sometimes things can blow up and couples can break up. But it doesn't mean that they wouldn't have broken up if they were monogamous. Maybe they would break up sooner or later. Yes, opening up brings up issues, but the issues were already there.
Yeah, from what I perceive from this conversation is opening up relationship means that couple has already a strong understanding and strong communication between them.
Ideally, but they can also open in the most toxic way, starting with one person really wanting something, one person not, and they are coerced into a relationship structure they don't want because they're afraid of losing their partner. That's problem number one. Problem number two, again, is remedying something that is a problem within you, and you think a opening up gonna fix it. It's the same as people having baby when they say, "Oh, baby's gonna save our relationship." Has baby ever saved relationship? I don't think so. It's only gonna bring out all the topics that you put under the carpet. And the third one is to be so afraid of failing, but no, we chose this. Now it's me. Now I'm polyamorous. I'm going to be polyamorous till the rest of my life. Like these boxes that I talked about, that we need to break, that we need to be kind to ourselves and to others, and not to perceive, you changing a job into different companies, a failure in that company, or you perceiving, a breakup as a failure of something. So our society is so conditioned to success and failure that we don't understand anymore what we value. Like if somebody comes to me and says to me, "I got divorced," normal response is, "Oh," but I always say, should I congratulate you or should I say, because sometimes people want this, people want to leave, so we should see things more holistically and more, we should see everybody of us as a messy, not perfect human beings that try to make sense of this life. And is it failure if you try to make sense and you do it messily rather than not asking at all, and you go through life in these perfect stages, but you don't even know if it's right for you?
Yeah, as a society, we are no one to judge a success or failure of any relationship. It's between the couple who has built it from scratch.
Yeah. And of course, there's concerns. I can absolutely hear concerns of families if somebody coming out as gay. Yes, their life is going to be harder. So, as a parent, you don't want your child to have a harder life. Completely understandable. Or if you tell your mother that you and your husband opened up the relationship, they're going to be scared because they think, "Oh, you're going to mess up your relationship," and they worry for you because maybe you depended on your husband financially and she said, "Hey, don't rock the boat, not now." But we need to understand if criticism comes from place of love or place of just annoyance because we shook up somebody's world. Because when people are critical, it's reflection on them. It's how they perceive their world, and we trigger something in them that they start questioning their model, or they will need to be right. And so it's also nice to see people who criticize us in a kind way, in understanding way, which is not always easy.
Yeah, exactly. That's the most difficult part. Victoria, when you mentioned that sometimes you think, oh, couple should have come earlier to you, what do you think is the right time that the couple should consider going to a therapist?
Well, I honestly think from beginning of from when the honeymoon stage wears out and you see issues, and it's very nice, like you go to dentist for checkups. It's just to keep this momentum going, and even once a month to talk about issues. Issues arise, and it's nice to, or even to learn how to communicate, because we all have our patterns. We have sometimes avoiding patterns, sometimes anxious attachment. Maybe you heard about different attachment theories, and we're different. And we need to find a way to communicate that is effective. It doesn't trigger the other person to push away or to become even more anxious. So I think honestly from the beginning, and I have to say, a lot of my clients come from USA, and their coaching and therapy is way more accepted and is seen as maintenance rather than fixing a problem. I cannot fix anyone's problem. People come to me and I tell them that straight away, I cannot fix your relationship. What I can do for you is to give you stability under your feet. You come to me in a storm, you're emotional, you're upset. I can help you to find steadiness in your nervous system to make right decision for you, but I cannot make it for you.
And does it affect you also? Because I guess most of the people come to you when they are already in their high mode.
Yeah.
Does it affect to you also?
It can. The sessions can be very, very emotional and very charged, and I'm an empath, so I feel the pain and I feel the worries, and that's why I can do what I do, because I notice every little movement on the face, every little energy shift, because then I know what to ask and I know maybe what is underneath. But I also love people, so for me their pain is somehow absorbed through me, and I just find a place to hold them and to hold the space for them and for their pain, and to bring them calmness and ensure them that they're okay. They're still okay. Even in that storm, they have power to make decisions. They have power to be okay, because that's all we want. We just want to be okay.
Exactly. Yeah, to be okay in the current time is more important
Yeah.
than. But sometimes it happens that couples think in a relationship, we are okay together, but we are not happy together.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is the solution for that?
But what is happiness? Happiness is such a it's a very current word. Even when I was growing up, there was no happiness. You could be content, you could achieve a goal, you could happiness, you eat something tasty, it's happiness. And then something happens again and you that happiness is gone. Happiness is a very abstract term that I think is very misleading to the new generation. The pursuit of happiness. I think it's more we should pursue in a balance and contentment. If you with your partner and you are okay, what is okay? Um, do you feel seen? Do you feel like you not just valued because of some traits like your beauty or like your money, but if all that is gone tomorrow, do you think you'll be valued for your heart and for your soul and for your sense of humor and for your intelligence and for your kindness and warmth? Then it's okay. Are you happy in the sense that are you not sad? Sadness we can measure easier than happiness. Are you constantly feel small, put down? Yes, your husband maybe doesn't hit you, but is that okay? I mean, what is okay for you? If so, normally people who are okay don't come to me, because they come to me because they're not okay and something does bother them. So if you're okay and he's okay and everyone's okay, and it's not okay that you put a front and you say, oh, everything is okay, but deep inside it's not okay, it's not okay.
That's a very good checklist that you have mentioned for couples to find out whether they are okay or not okay.
Yeah. But also, for example, you can be okay, but then you say, I want to learn salsa. And then that person says, okay, I want to learn salsa too. So you can always bring new skills into your relationship. And also, I mean, we are in generation of self-growth, and we are, I think, first generation who really reads self-help books, thinking, oh, how can I grow? We take up meditation, we take up hobbies. Parents, I don't think ever had hobbies. They had work, life, family, and a hobby could be knitting or something, but yoga, but it was not so central in our life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as a couple, yeah, you may be okay, but you wanna learn new skills. So you come to a coach, which is different from therapy, because the difference from therapy is that we look forward. We acknowledge the traumas, we acknowledge the problems, so we work through them, but we look forward. Like, okay, what do we do with this information? With therapy, you look in your childhood, you look in your past, you understand, but you don't necessarily know what to do with this information.
So, Victoria, if someone wants to right now explore as a couple that, okay, whether should we be open relationship or monogamy, what should be the first step?
Well, if they come to me, first thing what we do, and this is I'm giving away the trade secrets because they can also do it themselves, but it's safer to do it in a space with somebody. Many times, I see one person, a lot of times the husband is very excited at the idea. They already had this whole vision for themselves. They go to bar, there's a girl, they're free, they can make contact. Very nice. What they didn't think is the other side, is the partner doing the same. So I invite people in one of the first sessions, not the first, but at the beginning. We kind of play a movie in our head. We close our eyes, and then we play this film where each person goes out and meets somebody, and that was okay, and now you kiss that person, and the partner has to feel what happens then. Because many times the people who want open relationship, it usually comes from one person. It's quite rare there's both. So the person who's very excited about it have not thought about the partner doing the same. So that's the shock number one. They're like, oh. I don't know. I don't think I'm ready yet. So then we unpack that. We say, okay, what triggers? What are you afraid of? Second thing men don't realize is that for women, online dating is miles easier. It's insanely much more easy and way more choice. I'm not sure why. There's different theories. And then what happens is that couples open relationship and men think, oh my God, I'm gonna now go and have all this fun. But what happens is the partner has all this fun and they sit at home with the kids. So a lot of times we have these ideals of what we think it would look like, but I try to first help couple to understand what it could look like in reality. Then we can work about all the things that will come up, not all, but we work a lot through jealousy and what that means and how to express it to your partner. And then we work on practical rules. Both couples agree. It's agreement that they can also afterwards discuss what works, what doesn't work. And then we have also we go on a journey together, because you don't come to the gym and you say, okay, I want to lose weight. And the trainer says, okay, there's barbells, 5, do. You don't know what to do. You don't know if your form is right. And sometimes you will reach a plateau. So you need the coach to tell you, okay, you can do this, encourage you. So it's very much a process that we work through together. And I don't take on many clients because I love to work with people who committed to this for long term, because I want to get to know them. I want them to get to know me. It's a very intimate process where I'm like the shepherd into this terrain and maybe out of this terrain, because maybe they went, they explored and they realized that, hey, maybe it's not for me. Or one liked it, one didn't like it. What happens then? So there's so many little situations where it's helpful to have somebody to guide or to give space to different situations.
It could be such a useful act or play for everyone as a couple to do. And of course, if it is done with the guidance, it's better. But as a couple also, you can do this activity and realize and do that realization whether this model fits for you or not.
Yeah. And I work with singles too. I have to say, many of my clients are singles. And because I help them with dating too. And it's a wild, wild west. Especially I specialize with couples or people who were in a long-term relationship that broke up. They may never tried online dating. They don't know the etiquette. They don't know what to put in their questionnaire. And I help them figuring out first what they want, because sometimes they lost themselves in a long-term relationship. They don't know what they like to do in their free time, because that's what they always did together. I had a gentleman who said to me, I like to go on the beach holidays. I said, what do you like about beach holiday? And he couldn't name one thing. And then actually he realized that no, he likes to do city trips, and his wife used to love beach holidays, so that's all they did. And it became what he loved. But now he had the opportunity to first get to know himself. So that's where sustainable love comes first. It's you date yourself. You think, what do I have to do in my free time? How do I want my relationship to look like? What is important to me? And then you communicate that on the questionnaire. You communicate all the things that important to you, so then people can read it and already go away or approach you knowing that.
Wow, like I I could not even imagine that singles also come for these kind of advices. And
Yeah, so many, because also sadly there are many unethical practices online dating. There's ghosting, there's people use each other, and so you really, really, really need somebody in your corner who can cheer you on, because sometimes you're thinking, oh my God, I'm never dating again. I'm done. I'm done. I'm going to get me 10 cats and it's going to, because this is better. And you need someone to give place for those feelings and say, hold on, it's just a bad period. Keep going. We work on our communication. We maybe readjust the questionnaire so it's even more clear about what you want. And it's again like in a gym, it's encouragement. When you reach a plateau, I'm like, no, you can do this. I'm here with you. I'll help you train. So if people, because of course you have girlfriends, but with which girlfriend can you talk for an hour? You share and then they share. It's not so focused on you. This is a luxurious hour where you give time to yourself to work on something that you really, really want. Relationships are important. And I help people to find what they want.
good to know this perspective as well, Victoria. I got to know a lot of things today. In relationship as well, it's very important whether you are single, monogamy, open relationship. First thing, first comes is know yourself, know what you want, connect with your inner self. And then, of course, communication with your partner in any kind of relationship is the most important. That's what I take away from our conversation. Victoria, now before we wrap up, we have one question that we asked on our channel with all of our guests. So complete this sentence. A well-designed life is.
A well-designed life is when you are in harmony with yourself and your surroundings, and you feel peaceful in your choices, and you're able to make choices despite strong emotions.
Such a beautiful answer it is. So to be connected with your inner self is if you are able to do that, if you are realizing that it's the time to connect to your inner self.
Yeah.
And you work on your own ethics, your own wants, your own script, instead of taking one which you inherited.
And it's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard because you don't want to disappoint. You don't want to disappoint your parents. You don't want to disappoint your friends. You don't want to disappoint yourself. Maybe you had these ideas for yourself. And I don't see any difference between relationships or work when you realize that, hey, I'm not in the right job. You could have an amazing career. You could be the engineer, the CTO. And then suddenly you step down and you learn how to be a hairdresser, and you're like, people are like, what? You what? And to have that courage and that strength and autonomy to be okay with your choices, not to feel guilt, and not to feel guilt like you disappointed somebody else, and to be kind to others, but be firm and be strong with yourself. That's, I think, the aim of what you said about the well-designed life.
Yeah. I completely agree. And it's such a beautiful message. And we want to end our episode with this beautiful and deep line by Victoria. Thank you so much, Victoria, for being here and adding something to a conversation which really everyone needs to hear in today's time. And thank you so much for listening to our episode. And share it with someone who really needs to listen it if it really feels connected and something loosened in you. I'm Nupur. This is Life Architects. See you in the next episode.